Okay, that's not it. Well, it says we're live, and yet we're not. Just now, there we go. Okay. Well, we'll slow down a bit and wait for people to migrate to this screen. You want to shut him up?
No.
Okay. I do.
They do. They do.
Alrighty. We're here. And some of you are as well. So if you would just go give us a like or a love, then we'll see your names and know you're here or you were here. I don't know. It's fixed though now. We got a strong, fast connection. Yep. All right. Very good. Well, so as we were explaining, we're sharing the Flowering Heart blessing for awakening and the flowering of the heart with everyone that's here. It's directly from the divine. It's free of charge, and you are being initiated right now as you're soaking in it, and you can share it with anyone else who wishes to receive it. And anyone you share this blessing with, if they connect with that and want to be an instrument for this grace, all they need to do is accept it, and they are initiated as well. This is what the divine specified to us 6 years ago, and it's been working splendidly ever since. So enjoy. Okay. Let's see. So everybody's having strange little anomalies, and I guess that's just part of life on planet Earth right now, isn't it? So for the next while of the satsang, we open it to questions and answers about the spiritual journey, about awakening, about God realization, about meditation, about spiritual realities. So feel free to type into the chat any questions that you may have been puzzling over. I think we had to come up with our own last week, as I recall.
We didn't do it last week.
Oh, that's right.
Took the day off for Labor Day.
That was a question, wasn't it? Okay. And but it's always nicer when some of you pose a question. Some of them are eloquent, some of them are like, help, I'm going through something. But I know we all have areas of the spiritual process of meditation, of the things we're experiencing that don't feel like they're working for us the way we'd like them to, right? Because a lot of us would like to be awakened and don't feel that we are. A lot of us would like to be in joy and peace, and we're not. So ask, what do I need to do to get there? Why is this happening? That's your job. Our job is to prepare for the satsang and call on the divine presence to hear us and to give us the graces that we need in these transmissions, but also to give us the clarification, the insight, the light that we need on things that are going on in our journey, so that we can flow with it more harmoniously and gently. So I'm assuming, since no one's asking anything, everyone is enlightened, God realized, in total bliss, right? Come on, not.
Maybe.
Oh, wait a minute. It's
We already
possible.
are.
Yeah, that's true.
Just peeling back the layers.
I'm sure some of us are.
There we go. Did I read it out loud?
Sure. Not making any question doesn't mean we don't love doing satsang with you both. Maybe we're more in the present and less in the mind. Yeah, maybe.
True.
It's true. And being in the present with no mental questions means you are awakened, in the awakened state, and that's beautiful. That's wonderful. And it's possible that all of us here tonight are actually in the state of no mind, in which case it's kind of an unnecessary tease on my part to try to pull questions out of it. Okay.
Excellent. I had a very hectic couple of weeks and decided to just take Labor Day off last week just to reflect and get settled and recentered in our hearts. Our younger daughter was moving out on Friday, and on Thursday she got in an accident. She was fine, but her car was completely totaled. The day before she was moving over to Tampa, she just started USF over there at college. And then after that, we were helping her move on Friday, and then Saturday we were helping her move, and the drivers were just crazy over in Tampa and had 2 almost near accidents of these cars just trying to speed in and out of lanes and not letting you in. And then our car had issues the next Thursday. So we decided to take the day off and just recenter and recalibrate. And it was really, really helpful. It was really helpful, but it felt really strange because I think that's the first time in probably 6 years or more that we haven't done a Monday night webcast. And it, we just love this time with you guys. We really love holding the space with you and praying with you and answering questions or just being here, just showing up. So thank you for your patience for us not being here last week, and we're so happy to be back and recentered.
Actually, we had a real good reason to do that, but didn't know when we were being led not to. I won't go into detail, but there was a person where we went to walk who was carrying a deep trauma in her life. She'd been carrying it for, I guess, around 30 years, about a child, one of her children that was killed. And it was very intense. But she really needed us to be there. And I guess the divine knew that and said, take the week off, but we really didn't take it off.
We held space for her to
very intense.
Share her experience, and it was very healing. Yeah.
Okay. So
it's kind of that, no matter where you go, there you are.
Okay, so here's a question. I was sent a string of questions, and some of them we might be able to address online. What can one best do when one finds so much the normal world to be mundane? When so many seem to just be filled with meaningless desires or needs to be right in conditioned, limited viewpoints, perpetuated by mass media-driven consumerism, their resistances to what is, or apparent lack of higher awareness, connection. Will humanity ever wake up? If one sees that one can only engage with most others through their limited views that are not aligned with higher vibrations, consciousness, ought one go off to live in the mountains, a spiritual or intentional community, or elsewhere away from the chaos, to simply not participate in nor see what most people are doing or thinking? Well, I felt an answer to this. Let's see, here it is. St. Augustine, he was, without knowing much about him, he was a great spiritual teacher and saint and mystic many centuries ago. And he's famous for a really simple statement: love and do as you will. In other words, Augustine, what that means is, first of all, love. And then being in love, being in the spirit of love and the presence of love, then whatever your heart is urging you to do is going to be right. If you're in a state of love and not selfishness or self-seeking or resistance, then do whatever you will. Love and do as you will. Interesting, one of the I shouldn't even say great, probably the most influential black magician of the 20th century was Aleister Crowley. Some of you have heard of him. Not important, but Aleister Crowley was famous for twisting St. Augustine's teaching into his own black magical formula. And his was, do whatever you will, basically. I know I'm misquoting him right now. I was right on the tip of my tongue. But basically, Augustine said, love and do as you will. And Crowley was just saying, do whatever you want. And so Augustine's statement is that if we love first, then we can do whatever we will. So if we're disgusted with the current state of the world, should we go up in the mountains? Should we go live in an intentional spiritual community? Should we withdraw from the masses? What should we do? And Augustine's answer would be, first of all, love, and then do whatever your heart's leading you to do. And I wonder, where is the love in the idea of separating from and withdrawing from humanity because they disappoint us and are unpleasant to us? Nothing is mundane is the other thing that I answered to this person. Nothing is mundane. It is all. Everything is aflame with beauty and radiance of the presence of God. If one is truly awake and one's eyes are truly open, one could see the awesomeness of it all, unless we're blinded by self-centeredness, lack of compassion, and the desire to be comfortable. Yeah, because it's really uncomfortable in a lot of what's going on in the world today. But there's so much to be loved. So much to be loved. Okay, let's see. I'll check and see if you guys added anything. Oh! Maury says, we're all holding space together. Yes, we are. John says, it seems that my thoughts seem to go out to the universe where many can pick them up. How do I stop this, since I would like more privacy and not become neurotic worrying about having the proper thoughts? Well, that's interesting. Okay, our thoughts do go out to the universe, but remember, we are not the author of our thoughts. Thoughts are not yours. Thoughts are just coming from the thought sphere through the radio receiver of your brain. And we can tune it to a different channel. But say you are generating thoughts. Let's just say maybe you are thinking thoughts and you don't want other people to read them. That's actually not your call. Now, you can try to shield yourself and shut yourself off, but they're not your thoughts to begin with, and all is one. People in a high enough state of consciousness, some of them are gifted with the ability to see the thoughts that are going through your mind and my mind. And I know how uncomfortable that is. Now, when it's a psychic invasion, like someone's using psychic powers and they're using their powers, the way to really be free from that is get out of your mind and into your heart, and stay focused on the light, because if your eye is set on the presence, or your heart is set on the presence surrounds you and protects you. A scripture says, don't be anxious about anything, John Lewis. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer. In this sense, that means connecting with the presence, not asking for something. Prayer, in everything by prayer, and supplication means to ask for what you need with thanksgiving. So don't be anxious about anything. That means we're in our minds and we're nervous about, what kind of attacks we may be under. But in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God that passes all understanding will build a garrison, a protective barrier around our hearts and our minds. I'd say that pretty well answers it. So, first of all, Don't be anxious about anything. So the concern that maybe people are picking up on our thoughts and that might be used against us, that is an anxious concept, generated by the mind, incidentally. So instead of worrying about that, connect with the presence. That's prayer. It's not words, it's connection. And then ask for what it is you're needing, and then enter into thanksgiving, knowing that the divine is faithful to keep its word to you. And its word is that if you will do this, the peace of God that passes understanding, there's no reason sometimes to be at peace, and there we are at peace. Because the peace of God that passes all understanding builds a wall of light and love and protection around our hearts and minds. Hearts and minds, both.
Yours was better than mine. I was going to suggest an aluminum foil hat.
Now, John, keep your sense of humor. And Zan, stop it. Oh my God. Okay, there we are. Okay, so that's funny. That's just funny. Okay, any other comments? Oh yeah, John says, yes, I realized years ago that I could pick up others' thoughts, but chose not to have that ability, since that is an invasion of privacy and fear-based. Yay, I like it. And Maury's smiley face too, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's my... That's what I do. I don't do that. I realize that, and not just with the psychic stuff, but as my meditation deepened and my spirit developed, as my spirit grew and expanded, I was able to see many things going on around me that I couldn't see before with the eyes of the body or the eyes of the mind or even with psychic gifts. But the eyes of spirit, should the divine choose to open them more, we might see all kinds of things. And it's not that I don't put up a barrier to like not feel what other people are feeling. It just goes right through me. I have no, it's actually called disinterest, but that's misunderstood. Disinterest means non-attachment. It's like I have no attachment. So it's sort of like people will come to me and have been doing this for years and confess their deepest, darkest secrets. And this is, I don't have to read anything. They will sit there and they will tell me one-on-one the most unbelievable things. I mean, virtually, you name it, I've had people confess it to me directly. And the Spirit graces me to offer counsel, to offer some suggested practice or spiritual activity that could help turn that around in a person's life. And I'll pray for them and lay hands on them. And here's what's interesting. You could ask me, and of course I couldn't tell you because it's under the seal of privacy, but actually it goes right through me. And usually I don't even remember in my normal consciousness what that person told me because I have no interest in that. I realize, as John said, it's an invasion.
What?
John says he's going to get some Reynolds wrap tomorrow. Who says satsang can't be fun? Last Wednesday night, we sat here on the in-house satsang and just laughed our heads off. We laughed and laughed and laughed. And it was just the right group, because I'm sure some people out there in the world, if they had been in the room, might have thought it was a bit irreverent. But it wasn't. I swear, God was laughing with us. Or we were laughing with the divine presence.
When John thought of that, I thought of an aluminum foil shaped like a swan, like they wrap up at fancy restaurants, your leftovers. You go around with the swan on your head. I realized years ago, I kind of set the intention with the divine, because all of that psychic stuff and auras and things like that, when I was around people that could do that, it made me uncomfortable, and it was because of my own insecurities. But I've always kind of set the intention, and I've noticed with a lot of people that have those abilities to pick up on other people's stuff, sometimes, not always, but I think often we don't get those gifts of sight, the psychic abilities, unless our ego is diminished enough. Like Michael said, it just goes right through them, you know, and if the mind and the ego are engaged, then it turns into like a big deal. But if we're coming from our hearts and we receive, you know, a thought or something from another person, and it's going through the heart, then there's just pure compassion. There's no judgment, because we all know that we've had bad thoughts or horrible feelings, or, you know, we're all human. We've all been there before at some juncture in our life. And so there's a sense of peace when you notice these things happening, and especially as we grow deeper in our hearts.
I've noticed that when the divine shows me something about someone else that they didn't tell me, and would probably be bothered that I knew it, that the divine is trusting me with a secret for one reason, so I can pray for that person and I can send blessing to them and seek to help them. If I use that in an inappropriate way, then the divine isn't going to tell me more secrets. If I violate the secret that the divine shows me about another person and what they're going through, by telling it to someone, then the divine knows it can't trust me at my current level of maturity to show me those things.
Right.
And not all of us are called to have that kind of burden, but there's nothing wrong if the divine shows you things that people around you are going through, and you can feel their feelings, their charges, or their thoughts, or their struggles. This is an opportunity to pray and send blessing and help them. And I think that's the appropriate response, rather than, I won't look. Or I'm going to hide my head in
My
this.
aluminum hat.
Whatever. Right. Well, I don't think the aluminum hats work anyway. But yeah, so we could, but I think that was right on about not using psychic perception to violate other people's privacy. But when it's the Spirit that's giving us that insight, then we shouldn't look away. You know, we should even thank the divine for burdening us, you know, with this other person's need, because the divine's trusting you with that situation in another person's life.
And he was talking about other people picking up on his
I know what he
thoughts.
was.
Yeah.
But
right.
he explained that years ago he realized that he had that ability.
Right.
And he felt it was an invasion of privacy and fear-based, so he chose not to have that ability. I think that's could be a really wise choice where psychic abilities are concerned. Where spiritual gifts are concerned, it's not our choice except to say yes or no to the will of the divine, who's wanting to give us something for, there's always a reason. And it's service. It's always around service and compassion. Well, we'll give it another minute or two, and I do so appreciate, I know, More, that a lot of times we are actually coming to the greatest thing that we're doing on Monday nights is holding space together. So that's fine. It really is. And sometimes we really don't feel like saying anything, right. And that's fine too. And sometimes I can push too. I'll get back. This is John. We got more. Like the Mel Gibson movie when they're sitting on the couch with foil on their heads. Well, the truth is, I've never used an aluminum foil cap, but I met a man wearing an aluminum foil cap. Oh, it was over 30 years ago in Bolivia when I was doing a lot of work in the Amazon and in the high Andes. And I forget what town I was in, but I'm walking down the street, and here's this American, a young American, well, I say young, he was probably in his, looked like mid to late 20s, had a short beard, and a very nice cone-shaped aluminum foil cap. And he walked up to me and he said, "You've got to be careful, you've got to be careful. They're monitoring all of our thoughts. They know what we're thinking and they're controlling, they're trying to use mind control. That's why I'm wearing this hat." And this was over 30 years ago. And he was pointing up to the power lines overhead and he said, "They're using those wires right now. And they're sending out frequencies to control our minds." Yeah. So, but even though we may joke about those things, that doesn't mean that there isn't some kind of something, not like the government doing it necessarily, but certainly there are forces in the universe that would seek to manipulate our feelings and our thoughts for purposes that are not wholesome for us and for the world. And so really aluminum foil hats set aside and trying to shield yourself with 8,000 white light shields, just surrender yourself to the divine presence and invite the divine presence to fill you, to flood you, to surround you, and to protect you. And it just works. And there's nothing more powerful.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's...
Because if we're trying to surround ourselves with these white lights and doing all this mumbo jumbo, that's basically just an act of our will and our mind and coming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
And so to go just directly to the source, go directly to the heart, and pray for the divine grace to help us get through each moment.
Well, that doesn't mean to ignore a presence that you feel might be dark or threatening or chaotic or whatever other things we could say, where we might actually feel something attacking or assailing us. I mean, if you're mature enough, you could just ignore it and walk on with your eyes on the light. But for most of us, it's a good idea, if you feel something like that, to invite the light of the divine presence to protect you, and to just proclaim that the divine presence itself is your shield and your strength and your protection and your joy and your faith and your trust. It works. It's especially powerful when you grasp these truths in your heart and you proclaim them, if you're in a place where you can do that and not look nuts. Oh, sometimes it's great to do it right where people might think you're nuts. You know? Okay. From distrust. Okay. Morey says, could it be that conspiracy theories come from the ego or from distrust? Well, yes, they do. They also come from very manipulative individuals that use conspiracy theories to consolidate power, to hold on to power, and to manipulate public opinion. Let me say, there are a lot of conspiracy theories you may have noticed flying around. And some people are just in fear, it's true. And not trusting the divine, that's true. But some of them have been manipulated by these great manipulators. And some are great manipulators using conspiracy theories. That said, there's a difference between a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy. There are also conspiracies afoot on this planet. I mean, wherever 2 or 3 people get together and try to figure out how to take over, whether it's a spiritual organization or a church or a country, or a political region or something like that, wherever people are plotting together in secret to try to exert control and influence, that's a conspiracy. That's not a theory. Someone may have a theory about it, but there are lots of conspiracies afoot. Every time you hear about a coup or a revolution where someone successfully topples a government or some structure in society, that is a conspiracy that has become manifest. But it began as a conspiracy. That's where all the planning is and all of that. Boy, how do we get off into this? Oh, it was John.
Hats.
It was John and the aluminum hats. Suzanne will take the blame for that. Okay. Well, I think it's time to move on.
Okay. Should we get our hats on?
Yeah. So there's nothing to fear. Nothing at all. There are fearful things in the universe, but there's nothing that you need to fear if you are centered in the divine. And the Flowering Heart Blessing will help you do that. There are so many other beautiful spiritual practices and transmissions that help us to remain focused on the divine presence and in our communion in our hearts with the divine being. And that's the safest place, no matter what it looks like, no matter what they tell you about how foolish that is. That's the safest thing you could be doing. It's the safest space to be in. It is the safest, most effective self-defense you could possibly employ, is the love of God and the love of one another. So why don't you close your eyes and let yourself... Ooh.
That makes so much noise.
I don't know.
Okay.
You're just making static tonight, man. Foil hats.
I really need the foil hat.
Oh, my, my, my. So just drop into your spiritual heart, the depth of the center of your being, your soul, and invite the divine presence. Invoke the divine presence to flood you, to fill this space. This presence within you is your true sacred divine self. It is your deepest, best friend. It is the one who is pure unconditional love, loves you unconditionally exactly as you are. This presence is all-powerful and all-knowing. It knows exactly what you need to receive tonight. So just open yourself to receive the blessing of the divine presence, knowing it loves you, it is wise, and yearns to give you exactly what you need. Just drink it in. And I just noticed that CJ, our friend in the Philippines, has asked for special prayers and blessings for the Philippines, the people of the Philippines. So let us see the Philippines and all of the people there being flooded with divine grace, divine light, divine healing. We ask for and take a special intent for healing for the masses of people who are sick in the Philippines with the coronavirus. perhaps we should take this opportunity to take a strong intention for all the people of the world, for we are all being affected by the coronavirus in some way, that the divine presence would bring it to an end and bring healing to all the people of the earth. That the archangel of divine healing, Raphael, might go forth into all the world to pour out divine healing to all who are suffering with the coronavirus and any other disease. May waves of healing flood the earth. And may COVID-19 be brought to an end, dissolved in the light. We understand that human disharmony and immaturity has created the conditions for this pandemic and other situations we face on the planet now. And so let us take a strong intent for the flowering of the hearts of humanity, for the awakening of all humans everywhere to oneness. With the divine, with all it is. Healing the cause of the virus and of all other human distresses and calamities. We take a strong intent that humanity be awakened and transformed, and the new golden age blossom on planet Earth and in the hearts of all. And so it is. Now we'd like to invite you to relax, and when you're ready to open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just continue to gaze at least one of our eyes during the light meditation, which begins now as the presence dissolves me and Suzanne and begins to pour through us, through every pore of our being, oceans of unconditional love, grace, transformation, especially through our eyes, which have been called the doorways of the soul. As you keep looking at least one of our eyes, that light, whether you see it or not, will stream in through your eyes into your spiritual heart, causing the flames of divine and transformation in you to be strengthened, intensified, dissolving blocks, Close your eyes now. Meditate for a few more moments with us as the grace settles with you. Now keep meditating if you wish, or lie down nearby in Shavasana, which is to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, just dissolving in the presence in gratitude. We love you very much.
Yeah, much love and light and blessings until we connect again.
Until then, the divine in us sees and acknowledges the divine